Hey, what's going on guys? Shadow Hollow here signing and bringing you another Destiny 2 video, and in this video I wanted to do some tests and answer several questions about the Skyburners oath, like how much damage does it put out against Cabal, how strong is it compared to scout rifles, is it worth your exotic slot, and is it useful in a Leviathan Raid. I also wanted to do a test combining this weapon with the Foetracer Hunter exotic helmet to see what type of damage this combo would put out and if it would make any difference compared to using this helmet with other scouts. So if you're watching this video, then you probably have had this weapon drop for you, and you know that it has a perk called Slug Rifle, which allows you to do more damage when aiming down the sights with this gun. What is not mentioned about this gun is that the weapon has a slower rate of fire than it does when you hit fire. If you play Destiny 1, then you know that this is similar to the Soros Regime perk, where it fires slower but does more damage. So in order to do this test properly, three things had to remain consistent. First, I had to stay the same power level regardless of which weapon I was testing, just to make sure my power level wasn't allowing me to do more damage with one weapon and less damage with the next. Next, I had to make sure that the damage calculations that I was recording was on the same type of enemies, basically meaning that if I used a fallen drag for the first weapon test, I had to use a fallen drag for the next weapon test. Last, I had to make sure that each gun I used for the base comparison was the same archetype, meaning it had the same amount of impact and the same rate of fire. This way I know that both guns did the same amount of damage. Now I must note that any scout rifle that is in the same class as the Skyburners will do the same amount of damage as the Skyburners if you are not aiming down the sights with the Skyburners. The two scout rifles that I used for comparison was a 7.65 scout rifle with the Mida multi-tool, but I realized later that I could not use the Mida simply because it's a kinetic weapon. I completely forgot about this fact, but kinetic weapons do more damage than energy weapons. So in other words, shooting a fallen enemy in the head with a kinetic scout would do more damage than shooting an enemy in the head with an energy scout. Same goes for hand cannons, pulse rifles, and any other weapon type. So for comparison, I'll just stay with the 7.65 scout. And just to be sure, I went ahead and did a test and made sure that these weapons actually did the same amount of damage, with the Skyburners doing more damage if you aim down the sights. Next, I needed to test how much more damage does the Skyburners oath do to the Cabal compared to the 7.65. In order to do this, I needed a place where Cabal would sit still and allow me to shoot them in the face. There's no better place for this than Leviathan Raid. My strategy here was to run up to the Cabal, shoot them in the face, and then run away like a little. So first I did headshot calculations with the 7.65. Then I did calculations with the Skyburners oath without aiming down the sights, and we can see the increase in damage this does to the Cabal. Next, I recorded the damage it does when you do aim down the sights and saw another damage increase as expected. But to compare the damage difference, we saw that the 7.65 did much less damage than the Skyburners oath from the increase in damage from shooting Cabal and the increase in damage from aiming down the sights. So now that we have that damage calculation, I wanted to do another test to see how this scout rifle with all its perk stack up to a kinetic scout. Remember that I mentioned before that kinetic scouts do more damage at its base than energy scouts. So for this test, not only did I pick a kinetic scout, which means that it does more base damage than the Skyburners, but I picked one that actually has more impact, which means even more base damage output than the Skyburners. For this test, I used a does not compute scout. After testing the damage of this weapon, I saw that the Skyburners, with all its increase in damage perks, was still putting out higher damage than even a kinetic scout with more impact, but only slightly. So this brings the question, is this exotic worth it? My answer would be, for the Leviathan Raid, no. It already has been established that there are other exotics that, like the Cold Heart and the Merciless, that will allow you to do more DPS on the bosses. But for strikes, I would say go for it, dude. I've even seen people use this inside the Crucible. So before I end, there are two last things I wanted to test out. The first is, if you don't know by now, the Cabal have crit spots on their back. That spot does more damage than a headshot, and I wanted to see the damage numbers for shooting them in the back in that crit spot with these two scout rifles. Next, I wanted to see how much more damage does the Foetracer Hunter exotic do when combined with the Skyburners while shooting them in that crit spot. The Foetracer has a perk, if you don't know by now, that allows you to do extra damage to low health enemies and allows you to track your targets. And as you can see, by adding this exotic helmet allows for some massive damage when combined with the Skyburners oath. But that brings me to the end of this video. Hopefully you guys got more insight on this gun. It's still one of my favorite exotic scout rifles. But that brings me to the end of this video. If you liked this video or enjoyed this video, then definitely drop a like down below. If you have any comments, then comment down below. Let me know your thoughts. But that's all for me. Be sure to subscribe for more videos coming along the way, and make sure you hit the notification button to get notified when I post. But I'm out of here, guys. I'm Shadow Hollow, signing out, and I will see you guys in the next video.